Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
The date that Franklin Delano Roosevelt was referring to, of course, 75 years ago today, December 7th, 1941, the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on an otherwise ordinary Sunday morning. Skies partly cloudy, typical weather that time of year in that part of Hawaii. Now, at that time, Hawaii was a territory of the U.S. Statehood was still 18 years away. But as early as the 1870s, the U.S. military had scoped out the islands for defensive and commercial potential and decided that Pearl Harbor, on the south side of Oahu, about 10 miles northwest of Honolulu, fit the bill. With the persistent trade winds blowing from the northeast most of the year, this part of Oahu is in the rain shadow of the Koolau Range, which often has clouds and rain. But as those northeast winds downslope out of the mountains, they dry out. Honolulu averages only 17 inches of liquid precipitation per year, less than half the average of nearly everywhere in Pennsylvania. Now, to pull off the attack on Pearl Harbor, a battle fleet of 6 aircraft carriers and about 50 other ships left northern Japan on November 26, 1941, and headed almost due east across the Pacific, reaching a point about 1,000 miles north-northwest of Hawaii on December 3rd. All of this in nearly complete radio silence. From there, the fleet headed south, reaching a staging area about 200 miles north of Oahu on December 7th. The map of surface pressure at that time looked like this. The Japanese fleet was at point X here. The red and orange identifies a belt of high pressure north of Hawaii, the familiar subtropical high. This would have produced the typical northeast winds on Hawaii. Often you get a deck of low clouds with a Pacific high. Indeed, Japanese planes reported clouds as they approached Oahu, but the clouds broke as they neared Pearl Harbor, the attack beginning shortly after 8 a.m. local time. And that attack lasted only 1 hour and 15 minutes and was carried out by more than 350 Japanese aircraft. More than 2,400 Americans were killed, 1,178 wounded. The attack damaged or destroyed 19 U.S. ships, including 8 battleships, and more than 300 aircraft. Fortunately, all 3 of the Navy's Pacific Fleet aircraft carriers, Enterprise, Lexington, and Saratoga, were not at Pearl Harbor during the attack. Enterprise was scheduled to arrive there the morning of December 7th, but was delayed by weather. Enterprise went on to play a major combat role in the Pacific War, earning 20 battle stars, the most of any U.S. warship in World War II. One of the battleships damaged at Pearl Harbor was the USS Pennsylvania. After a 3-month repair, it returned to action in 1942. On August 12, 1945, 3 days before Japan surrendered, the Pennsylvania was extensively damaged by a Japanese torpedo at Okinawa. 2 of her 14-inch guns are now on display at the Pennsylvania Military Museum in Boalsburg, outside State College.